Have you ever heard of the 8 plus 8 plus 8 rule? See, everybody's got 24 hours. Rich or poor, young or old, black, white, brown, it don't matter. Life deals everybody the same 24. But it's what you do with those 24 that separates the dreamers from the doers, the fulfilled from the frustrated. Most folks out here living lopsided, all work, no rest, all grind, no growth. Or worse, wasting the hours that were meant to build them into who they were called to be. And then they wonder why they feel empty, why they feel like they're running in circles. But let me tell you something. There's a rule, a rhythm to this thing. 8 hours to work, 8 hours to sleep, and 8 hours for you. Not for scrolling, not for surviving, but for living, for building, for loving, for becoming. Because if you don't command your time, life will steal it right from under you. Every minute wasted is potential abandoned. Every second ignored is a seed you never planted. So the question is not if you have time. The question is, what are you doing with it? The 8 plus 8 plus 8 rule is a simple yet transformative framework for managing your day with intention, purpose, and balance. At first glance, it may seem like basic arithmetic, dividing 24 hours into 3 equal parts. But beneath that simplicity lies a powerful philosophy for living a life that doesn't just function but thrives. It's a daily blueprint that reminds us that we are not machines. We are human beings with minds to sharpen, bodies to rest, and souls to feed. Let's start with the first 8. These are the hours most people are familiar with, the hours we trade for income, advancement, or impact. Whether you're clocking into a 9 to 5, running a business, pursuing creative endeavors, or studying to build a better future, this block of time is about contribution. It's about applying your skills, your discipline, and your energy towards something that builds. Work in this rule isn't necessarily about employment. It's about creation and responsibility. It's the time you dedicate to producing something of value. But the beauty of this rule is that it places boundaries around that work. It reminds you that while work is essential, it isn't everything. Your job is what you do, it is not who you are. Now we move to the second 8, sleep. So often in the hustle-driven culture we live in, sleep is treated like a weakness or an afterthought. We hear things like, "I'll sleep when I'm dead," and that mentality is dangerous. Sleep is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's the time when the body heals, the brain processes, the spirit resets. Without proper rest, your mind gets cloudy, your body gets sluggish, and your purpose gets blurred. The 8 plus 8 plus 8 rule places sleep exactly where it belongs, at the heart of performance, health, and clarity. Respecting those 8 hours of rest isn't laziness, it's preparation. You don't rise and grind, you rest and rise. But here's where it gets interesting. Those final 8 hours, these are the hours most people forget. The in-between hours. And yet, this is where life really happens. These are the hours for you. This time is your treasure. It's your power source. These 8 hours are where you invest in the things that don't come with a paycheck, but are still rich with value. Time with your family, time to read, to learn, to think, time to walk in nature, to journal, to laugh, to cry, to reflect, to pray, to play, to build relationships that matter, pursue passions that fuel you, and carve out moments that remind you of who you are and what you love. And here's the truth. Most people are letting these hours slip through their fingers. They're getting swallowed up by distractions, wasted on mindless scrolling, numbed by entertainment that never nourishes the soul. And while your work might make you a living, these hours are what give your life meaning. If you neglect them, you lose touch with your essence. You start surviving instead of living. The 8 plus 8 plus 8 rule isn't about being robotic. It's not a schedule set in stone. It's a guide, a compass, a mirror that asks, are you really living your day with balance? Some days you may work more and rest less. Some days you might pour more into your family or passion projects. That's okay. What matters is that you don't abandon any part of yourself in the process. You don't sacrifice sleep to prove your ambition. You don't overwork and call it hustle while your relationships die in silence. And you don't use your you time to do things that drain you instead of build you. Time is the one resource you can never get back. Once a second passes, it's gone. But when you live by the 8 plus 8 plus 8 mindset, you become a steward of your time. You honor it. You mold it around the life you want, not the life others expect from you. It's a way to take ownership, to build rhythm, to create harmony between your work, your health, and your heart. The world may push you to pick one, success or peace, money or love, productivity or presence, but the 8+8+8 rule says, why not all three? It challenges you to build a life where success doesn't cost your soul, where health isn't the price of ambition, and where love isn't left waiting on the sidelines. It's not about perfection, it's about awareness, living with intention, owning your day so it doesn't own you. Because when you master your 24, you start to master your life. Balance is not a luxury, it's a necessity. In a world that constantly shouts louder, faster, more, it's easy to get caught in the cycle of overworking and underliving. People chase success, grind day and night, sleep less, work more, and somewhere in between they forget to live. But true fulfillment doesn't come from burnout or sacrifice, it comes from balance. The kind of balance that allows you to work hard, rest deeply, and still have enough left to actually experience life. That's the heart of it all. Balance is the mission because imbalance is the enemy of peace. When your life leans too heavily in one direction, when you're all hustle and no healing, all output and no input, you eventually feel it in your body, in your relationships, in your mind. You start snapping at the people you love. You start waking up exhausted even after a full night's sleep. You start feeling like something's missing even though you can't quite put your finger on it. That's not failure. That's the cost of ignoring balance. The 8+8+8 rule isn't just about dividing your day into 3 neat segments. It's about recognizing the weight each part of your life should carry. It's about accepting that your humanity demands more than just survival. You weren't put here just to pay bills and chase titles. You're here to grow, to love, to laugh, to explore, to learn who you are outside of your responsibilities. Balance is what gives you that chance. It's easy to say, I'm grinding now so I can relax later, but too often, later never comes. The job gets bigger, the obligations grow, the calendar fills up, and before you know it, your whole life has been poured into productivity, but your soul is starving. That's why balance must be a mission, because no one's gonna hand it to you. The world will always ask for more. It's up to you to say, this is enough. There's no power in being constantly exhausted. There's no trophy for neglecting yourself. Yes, work hard. Yes, be driven, but not at the cost of your mental health, your relationships, your passions, your joy. When you prioritize balance, you're not being soft. You're being strategic. You're choosing longevity over burnout. You're choosing presence over pressure. You're choosing life over a checklist. Balance doesn't mean doing everything all the time. It means doing the right things at the right time. When you're working, be all in. When you're resting, actually rest. When you're spending time with loved ones, put the phone down and be there. When you're learning something new or investing in yourself, do it with intention. That's balance, not a perfect split every single day, but a consistent return to what matters most. This mindset also helps you become more aware of what you've been neglecting. Maybe you've been giving all your energy to your career and your health is slipping. Maybe you've been so focused on others that you haven't had a quiet moment to reflect on your own needs. Maybe you've been stuck in autopilot, going through the motions, but you haven't felt truly alive in a while. Balance calls you back. It reminds you that you're more than a worker, more than a provider. You're a person with dreams, with emotions, with a purpose beyond output. And balance isn't about slowing down your ambition, it's about sustaining it. Because a burned out version of you can't serve anybody. Not your job, not your family, not yourself. But a whole, healthy, well-rested, connected version of you, that person is unstoppable. That person doesn't just build success, they build a life worth living. The mission of balance is ongoing. You don't find it once and keep it forever. It's something you return to every day. It's something you protect, and it's something you refine as your seasons change. But when you make balance your mission, you begin to live with a sense of harmony. You're not just reacting, you're choosing. You're not just moving, you're growing. That's what the 8+8+8 rule helps you do. It doesn't just manage your time, it aligns your life. It asks you to look at your day and ask, is this making me better? Is this feeding my spirit? Am I showing up for the people who matter? Am I showing up for me? That's the power of balance. That's why it must be your mission. Because at the end of the day, success without self, success without health, success without joy, it's not success at all. Balance is how you make sure you don't just make it through life, you experience it fully, freely, fiercely. Productivity is often misunderstood. People think it's about doing more, going faster, sleeping less, and squeezing every second out of every hour. But real productivity, the kind that builds legacies, sustains success, and allows you to actually enjoy your life, doesn't come from exhaustion. It comes from alignment. It comes from being intentional. It comes from understanding that you are not a machine, you are a person. And people need rhythm. People need rest. People need space to breathe. The truth is, we live in a culture that worships burnout. We praise those who work 16-hour days, who skip sleep, who sacrifice everything for the grind. But what we don't talk about enough is the cost, the fatigue that becomes constant, the mental fog, the broken relationships, the creativity that dries up, the joy that slowly fades. Burnout doesn't always come with an explosion. It sneaks in quietly, and by the time you realize it, it's already stolen a piece of you. The 8+8+8 rule is a rebellion against that kind of toxic hustle. It's a framework that says, yes, work hard, but do it within boundaries. Yes, chase your goals, but not at the expense of your health. Yes, build something great, but make sure you're building yourself at the same time. When you divide your day with purpose, 8 hours for work, 8 hours for sleep, and 8 hours for personal time, you're not doing less, you're doing what matters. You're optimizing your energy, not just your time. Because here's the secret, productivity isn't about the number of hours you work. It's about the quality of those hours. You can sit at a desk for 12 hours and get 2 hours worth of real progress, or you can work a focused, energized 8 hours and create something powerful. What makes the difference? Rest, balance, clarity. When you take care of your body, your mind, and your soul, you show up sharper. You solve problems faster. You make decisions more confidently. You create more and stress less. Rest is not a reward for productivity, it's the foundation of it. When you sleep well, you think clearer. When you have time for relationships and hobbies and fresh air, you feel more grounded. When you invest in your well-being, your work benefits, your business benefits, your team benefits. You don't have to choose between getting things done and taking care of yourself. You can do both, if you're intentional. This rule also forces you to evaluate how you spend your time. Are you truly being productive, or are you just busy? Are you filling your day with motion, or are you actually moving forward? When you limit your work time to 8 focused hours, it forces clarity. You prioritize better, you eliminate distractions, you stop wasting time on things that don't matter. It's a powerful constraint that actually makes you more effective. And the personal time, those precious 8 hours for you, they aren't leftovers. They're essential. That's the space where you grow outside of your job title. That's where you learn new skills, nurture your passions, build relationships, and reconnect with your why. That's where you remember that you are more than your output, that your value doesn't come from how many tasks you check off, but from how deeply you live and how fully you show up. Productivity without burnout isn't a myth, it's a mindset. It's about shifting the goal from doing the most to doing what matters most. It's about realizing that saying no to overworking is saying yes to longevity, yes to creativity, yes to a life you actually want to live. The 8+8+8 rule isn't restrictive, it's freeing. It gives you permission to protect your energy, to reclaim your time, to live in a way that's not just sustainable, but fulfilling. You were not born to run on empty. You were not created to break yourself just to prove a point. Real success honors your health, your peace, your relationships, and your purpose. Real productivity adds to your life. It doesn't subtract from it. So if you're tired of the burnout cycle, if you're ready to create and contribute without losing yourself in the process, the 8+8+8 rule is your invitation to rise without rushing, to build without breaking, to work without withering, to thrive, not just survive. In the hustle of everyday life, there's a block of time that often disappears without notice. It's not the hours spent working, they're accounted for. It's not the hours spent sleeping, those are either prioritized or missed, but they're at least recognized. The forgotten space lies in the remaining 8 hours of the day, the ones meant for you, not your job, not your obligations, just you. These hours hold the key to your growth, your healing, your connection, your purpose, and yet they are the most misused, misunderstood, and underestimated part of your 24. Think about it. What do you do after work? What happens in the space between when your job ends and your head hits the pillow? That space is sacred, but for many, it gets filled with noise. Endless scrolling, background TV, unconscious routines, numbing habits that feel like rest but actually drain more than they restore. These hours were not meant to be burned away. They were meant to light you up, but if you're not intentional, they vanish quietly, subtly, until you look back and wonder where your time, your energy, your life went. The forgotten 8 hours are where the magic is supposed to happen. This is your personal time, your self-time. It's where your side projects are supposed to grow, where your dreams outside of work are supposed to breathe, where your relationships deepen, your mind expands, your heart gets nourished. It's the time to learn a new skill, to journal through your thoughts, to move your body, to call a friend, to sit in silence and finally hear yourself think. Without these hours, life becomes mechanical. You start to feel like all you do is wake up, go to work, come home, and repeat. Days blur into weeks, weeks into years, and suddenly you realize you've been alive, but you haven't really been living. That's not what these hours are for. They're not filler time. They're foundation time. They're the hours that shape who you become outside of your job title and to-do list. Self-development doesn't happen accidentally. You don't stumble into wisdom or discipline or healing. You build it. Brick by brick, hour by hour, in the moments that are easy to overlook. Growth lives in the forgotten 8. That's when you read the book that challenges your mindset. That's when you write the plan for your next big move. That's when you invest in your emotional health, your creativity, your voice. That's when you plant the seeds of the person you're becoming. And if you don't plant anything, nothing grows. This time also matters deeply for relationships, not just romantic ones, but your family, your friends, your kids, your community. Connection doesn't flourish in the leftover scraps of your day. It needs space, presence, energy. Those 8 hours are where you create memories, have conversations that matter, share meals without rushing, laugh without watching the clock. Relationships can't thrive if they're only fed with what's left after the rest of life takes its cut. And yet, it's easy to let these hours slip through your fingers because no one's reminding you how valuable they are. Society praises long work hours. It encourages distraction. It profits off of your time and your attention. But the cost is your fulfillment. The cost is your identity. The cost is your time spent doing what actually brings you alive. You've got to take that time back, not with guilt, not with pressure, but with purpose. Even just 30 minutes a day, used with intention, can change everything. 30 minutes of quiet reflection, 30 minutes learning something new, 30 minutes moving your body, 30 minutes being fully present with someone you love. That's where life happens. That's where your future is built, not in some far-off moment when everything slows down. Right now, in the hours we so often forget. The truth is, no one's going to force you to use these hours wisely. It's a choice, a commitment, a personal revolution. You have to decide that your time is valuable even when no one's watching. You have to decide that your growth matters even when there's no deadline attached. You have to believe that these hours are not just extra time, they are essential to who you are becoming. Don't let the best parts of your day be stolen by distraction. Don't give away your energy to things that give nothing back. Those forgotten 8 hours, they're waiting on you to remember them, to reclaim them, to use them as the space where you become more of yourself. Not for anyone else, just for you. Because you deserve to live a life that's full, not just functional. And it starts right there, in the time you forgot you had. There's a common misunderstanding when people hear about the 8+8+8 rule. They think it's a strict formula, a rigid schedule, something you're supposed to follow to the minute like a machine. But that's not what this rule is about. It's not a prison for your time, it's a compass for your life. It's not about perfection, it's about intention. Because life isn't predictable. It shifts, it bends, it throws curveballs. And the power of this rule isn't in its structure, it's in its spirit. The 8 plus 8 plus 8 rule is about balance, yes, but more importantly, it's about awareness. It's about looking at your life and asking yourself if your time reflects your values. Are you pouring everything into work and leaving nothing for your health? Are you giving so much to others that you've forgotten to give something to yourself? Are you sleeping enough, growing enough, connecting enough? This rule isn't here to judge you, it's here to guide you. Some days your work will take more than 8 hours. That's reality. There are deadlines, emergencies, big projects, life commitments. That's not failure, it's just life doing what life does. But if you know the balance point, if you've trained your mind to return to center, you won't stay off course for long. That's the power of a guideline. It helps you realign when the day doesn't go as planned. Maybe you're a new parent and sleep is unpredictable. Maybe you're building a business and pouring more time into your hustle right now. That's okay. The 8 plus 8 plus 8 rule doesn't punish you for being out of balance. It invites you to notice. It invites you to be conscious of how long you've been running without resting, how many days have passed without doing something just for yourself. It nudges you, not to shame you, but to remind you, you matter too. Intentional living means living on purpose. It means deciding how you want to feel, not just how much you want to get done. It means asking yourself what truly matters at the end of the day and making space for that. Not every hour will fit neatly into a box, but the more you check in with yourself, the more you learn to lead your day instead of letting your day lead you. Sometimes intentional living means choosing presence over productivity, choosing a walk with your child over another hour of emails, choosing to turn off your phone and sit in stillness, even if the world keeps spinning. It means understanding that your worth isn't measured by how many hours you worked, but by how aligned you feel with your purpose, your health, your relationships. When you live with intention, your time becomes an extension of your values. You stop chasing someone else's definition of success. You stop living on autopilot. You stop saying yes to everything and everyone out of guilt or fear. Instead, you begin to ask, does this honor my balance? Does this serve the person I'm becoming? Is this time well spent or just time filled up? You mold the rule to your life, not the other way around. It flexes with your seasons, with your roles, with your responsibilities. But no matter how it shifts, the core stays the same. Your life is worth designing. Your day is worth protecting. Your energy is worth managing with care. The goal isn't perfect balance every single day. The goal is returning to balance, coming back to yourself again and again. Some days, you'll feel like you crushed it. Other days, you'll feel like you barely stayed afloat. That's not failure, it's the rhythm of a real human life. But with the 8 plus 8 plus 8 principle in the background, you're never lost. You've always got a guide, a structure you can shape, a rhythm you can return to. So don't be afraid to bend the rule, but do be bold enough to return to it. Because your time is your life, and how you spend it shapes everything. From your health to your joy to your legacy. The 8 plus 8 plus 8 rule is not a demand, it's a declaration. A statement that says, I refuse to live by accident. I choose to live on purpose. Every hour, every day, every season, every single day, you are given the same gift as every other person on this planet, 24 hours. That's it. No more, no less. The wealthy, the struggling, the dreamers, the doers, we all wake up with the same ticking clock. The difference isn't in how much time we have, but in how we use it. Most people don't even realize how powerful those 24 hours can be when they're approached with intention. That's why mastering your 24 is the first step to mastering your life. There are 3 core areas that demand your attention every single day: your work, your rest, and your personal growth. When you follow the 8 plus 8 plus 8 principle, you're not just managing time, you're creating a framework for a balanced, meaningful life. 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of personal time, That's the formula. Not because life fits neatly into boxes, but because this structure gives you something most people go without: clarity. When you give each of these areas the attention they deserve, you don't just survive the day, you own it. Work is essential. It gives us purpose, builds our income, sharpens our skills, and allows us to contribute. But too many people overwork under the illusion that more hours equals more success. In truth, productivity doesn't multiply in proportion to time. Burnout doesn't build empires, it breaks them. By committing to 8 focused, efficient hours, you bring structure to your output. You learn to prioritize. You develop discipline. You produce with purpose, not pressure. You stop letting work overflow into the rest of your life. You stop letting your job define your identity. Then there's sleep. It's often treated as optional, a luxury, something you get when there's time left over. But let's be clear, sleep is not a reward, it's a requirement. If you're not sleeping, you're not recovering. Your mind is foggy, your emotions are unstable, your body is breaking down slowly, quietly, and all those hours of work you put in, they're undermined by your fatigue. When you get your full 8 hours of rest, you recharge your decision-making, your creativity, your patience. You wake up clearer, sharper, stronger. You wake up ready to lead the day instead of chase it. And then we get to the third piece, the most overlooked and underutilized part of your day: personal time. These 8 hours are where the real transformation happens. This is the time that determines whether you live intentionally. These hours are where you grow, connect, heal, and evolve. Whether it's through hobbies, self-education, exercise, journaling, meditation, spending time with loved ones, or simply sitting in silence, these hours are yours, not your boss's, not your bills, yours. And when you begin to treat them as sacred, your life begins to expand. Mastering your 24 means knowing when to push and when to pause. It means recognizing that you are not a machine. You're a complex, layered human being who needs space to breathe, reflect, laugh, create, and rest. A person who can only give the world your best when you've taken care of yourself first. When you divide your day with purpose, you multiply your impact. You show up more fully in every role you play. Because you're not drained, you're aligned. And here's where it gets powerful. Consistency compounds. One well-used day turns into 2. A week of intentional living turns into a month of momentum. A few months of discipline and self-care start shaping a version of you that feels strong, clear, and energized. You stop reacting to life and start designing it. You're no longer just getting through your days. You're building a life, brick by brick, hour by hour. This principle isn't about control. It's about freedom. It's about creating space in your day for all the parts of you that matter. It's about letting your ambition coexist with your peace, letting your productivity live alongside your presence, letting your goals walk hand in hand with your health. It's not easy, but it's worth it, because if you don't master your 24, it will master you. The hours will slip away into distractions, demands, and exhaustion. But if you take charge, if you give each 8 the respect it deserves, you'll find something most people never touch: balance, clarity, and power. When you master your day, you begin to master your destiny. And that's where transformation begins. That's where purpose is built. That's where the life you were meant to live starts to take shape, one intentional hour at a time.